Hi everybody, I'm Stacy. I'm a registered nurse. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome in. If you're coming back, I'm so glad to have you. Let's talk about how to say no. In healthcare, sometimes we feel obligated to say yes when we should say no. And it's really important that we understand our boundaries and communicate those boundaries with the people in leadership over us. Otherwise, as much as you say yes, they'll take your yes. It's true. So let's talk about it. And if you like what you see here, then I ask that you like, subscribe, and follow for more. How many times have you been in a situation where the unit was short-staffed or somebody called off, or I don't know, you were asked to take on an extra assignment, an assignment maybe you didn't feel safe doing, an assignment you knew would not be comfortable for you, an assignment that maybe you really didn't want to take. How many times have you said yes in your career? How many times did I say yes when I was a young new nurse? I think as we get older and as we work longer in healthcare, we learn how to preserve ourselves to some extent, because you do tend to burn out if you don't take time for yourself. It is really important in nursing that you learn when it's time to say no. So as supervisors who know who will say yes and who's reliable to say yes, supervisors are going to reach out to those people, because those are the people who say yes. That's all I can say about that. And the fact is, I used to be a yes person. I used to pick up shifts. I used to work over. I used to do doubles. I had 2 jobs at one time when I was in my 20s, and I could never ever manage that again. I know whenever I myself in my late 40s have to work more than 12 hours, I have to recuperate the next day. It's not like when I was in my 20s and I did a midnight shift, slept until 1, and got up and worked a 3 to 11 shift. It just doesn't work that way. Can't do it anymore. When I was in my 20s, I used to work 3 12s in a week, and then I would work 3 to 11s part-time because I was an LPN and I had bills to pay and children to feed, and I worked as many hours as I could work. And the whole reason I became an RN was to limit the amount of time that I had to be at work so that I could spend more time with my family. But what I've found over the years in working as a nurse is that the more you will, the more they'll let you. And as a manager or a supervisor, I tried to combine those words, it doesn't work. As a manager, as a supervisor, who am I going to reach out to? The people who I know will help and say yes. Because managers do have to carry some of that load, but let's be real, I can only pick up so many shifts before I also burn out and say, okay, I've had enough. But it's really important that if you don't want to do something, or you feel pressured and it doesn't feel right for you, and you're tired and you need a break, it is really important that you say, no, I'm sorry, I don't think I can do that for you. I can't give that of myself at this time. And it's okay. And I promise you, nobody is going to penalize you for saying no. You feel like they will. You feel guilty because you don't want to leave your coworkers in a bind. You don't want to leave your manager in a bind if you like them. But I promise you, as disappointed as somebody will be, somebody else will pick up that shift. Somebody else will do it. The manager will do it. And you'll not burn yourself out. It is really critical in healthcare to take time for yourself. I can't emphasize that enough as a nurse who's been a nurse. I started in healthcare when I was 19 in 1997. And became an LPN in 2001, became an RN in 2013, and I have worked in healthcare since I was 19. It started when I was a CNA. I would pick up shifts. I would be mandated to stay over, and CNA work is hard labor, right? When you're a CNA, when you're in healthcare, you're doing labor, whether it be mental labor or physical labor, you're giving of yourself and you're putting in work, and that takes a toll on your body as time goes on. And if, for example, there have been times when I've worked 12 or 13 days in a row, and I will tell you that will make you feel sick and that will impact your health over time. You cannot sustain those types of hours. The money is not worth the health problem down the road. We need sleep, we need to recharge, and we need time away from what we're doing. We need work-life balance. So it's really important in healthcare whether you're a CNA, a nurse, whether you're in some other form of healthcare, we all feel the pressure to cover short staffing or high patient to nurse ratios. We have high patients to low nurse ratios. In different states, there are different guidelines and regulations that are in place to protect nurses, and some states have very loose guidelines on what that looks like. So a nurse could end up with as many as 50 patients to herself, and you can only be your own advocate. You can only be your own advocate. And if you advocate for yourself and you respect yourself and you say no, then other people will learn to respect you too. And they will learn your boundaries. It's really important to develop boundaries, have boundaries, and keep those boundaries. And don't feel guilty. I've spent many years when I began to say no, feeling like, oh, maybe I should just call back and do that. I should help. And I have sometimes called back and said, you know what, I will do that for you. Or there's been times when I absolutely said I would not do that and I did it. And I regretted it later. And it didn't feel good, and it didn't keep my attitude good, and it didn't keep my desire to continue working for those people good. And it's really hard to keep good nurses. It's really hard to keep good CNAs. It's really hard to keep good healthcare workers. And there should be an emphasis on retention. So it's really important that if you're feeling that and you understand your own limitations, I'm going to respect if you say no to me. I'm going to respect you if you say no to me, and I'm going to find another way. So how many times have you picked up a shift or took an extra assignment or done something like that and ended up quitting a job later? How many times have you picked up multiple shifts because you thought the money was good and then realized that you were just really wearing yourself out and you ended up leaving that job? I don't want to leave jobs. I want to stay where I am and know what I'm doing, and I don't want to change. And every time you change, you have to learn a new set of people, a new set of rules, because as we know, there are state guidelines, federal guidelines, and company policies that interpret those guidelines. So I feel like if you like your job and you really want to make an impact, you can be an example by being the person who recognizes what are your boundaries, what are the reasons that you will not do something, and what are your hard no's. It's okay to say no. I think we feel guilty too many times as healthcare workers. I think we feel responsible for other people too many times as healthcare workers. Do I appreciate those people who are working beside me in the trenches, picking up the hard shifts and doing those things? Absolutely. I appreciate the people who are helping me to not have to work all those hours, because you know, in some roles, if there's not anybody else, it's you. So that's something to consider too. Sometimes the no isn't in your abilities. So think about that too when you're thinking about what you're doing in healthcare. Always think about the consequences of your actions. That's something my mother said to me all my childhood, and it's proven to be true in every aspect of my life, including working in healthcare, in every aspect. And I just want to say that anything that I say here, it does not replace the advice of a doctor. It is not science. It is not anything but my opinion, and just to share my stories and my opinions. So take what resonates and leave what doesn't, as the psychics say. I would love to hear about a time that you had a difficult decision and you had to say no, a time that you had to place a hard line in the sand and you made boundaries. I would love to hear about that kind of thing in the comments, and I would love to hear your suggestions about things that you would like to discuss in nursing, in healthcare. Mostly I know nursing, but if you like what you see here, then I ask that you like, subscribe, and follow for more. And I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.